And on that note, we begin the new Perek Haba al Yevimto, the sixth Perek. It's a little. It's don't think it's easy, but it's not that. It's not the cheshbon of Yevamis. It's more concerning the actual act that we know that we say that if two people unions come together, the chayev. What exactly constitutes a union and which people are involved? So it's a very yisoidistic Perek, and Bez Hashem Yisbarach, we should have all have atzlacha. And good tevach to all. Thank you all for joining. Says the Mishnah, Habal Yevimto, someone has relations with his Yevama, Bein B'shogeg. Let's say B'shogeg means he thinks he's having, he has kavana for the bia, but he has kavana for a different woman. He thinks it's his wife, or he thinks it's another woman, and it turns out to be his Yevama. So again, shogeg means I'm mechaven for the action, I just not mechaven for that particular person. So for example, if you put a light on Shabbos thinking it's Thursday, that's a shogeg. In other words, you wanted to put on the light, you just forgot it's the day. If you would go ahead and lean against the light, that's not a shogeg, that's an honest. So here, shogeg would mean that he was mechaven, in fact, for the bia. He's mechaven for the act of bia. However, it was not what? It wasn't his yivama. So, habal yivimto bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid. Mezid means that he's not mechaven l'shem mitzvah, he's mechaven for his nus. This is what we were concerned about. Abba Shol was concerned about that you have to be mechaven l'shem. The mitzvah l'shem no. If you go ahead, you're not mechaven l'shem mitzvah, you're mechaven l'shem nus. Nonetheless, we're going to see you are kind of yivama. Bein ba'aynis, whether you were an aynis, the Gemara is going to say what exactly that case was. Bein b'ratzain, whether this seems to be just, Tosfos says, this just seems to be within the flow, because ratzain exactly is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have kavana b'ratzain, for the mitzvah. So this would seem to be just in context what is used. Afilu, the Gemara will ask, what's the filu? Afilu hu shogeg v'hi mezida. He's mechaven for he is not mechaven for the act at all. Again, he thinks it's his wife. He mezida, the Yevama is mechaven for his nus. So no one is mechaven l'shem mitzvah. So you don't have either side over here doing the right thing. Or who mezid, he's mechaven for his nus. For he shogeg, and she is what? And shogeges, she is she thinks, I don't know what she thinks. I don't know who she thinks it is. Anyway, but again, she doesn't think it's her Yevama, I guess. She doesn't think it's her Yevama. Who honest the he loyanusa, he was forced, she wasn't. Or he anusa, she was forced for who loyanus, he was not, wasn't. All these cases, we're going to see you are kaina. Now, echad hama'ara ve'echad hagoymer, whether you initiated the bia or whether you completed the bia kana. One of the, we can break up the act of physical intimacy into two parts. The initial part, which we'll call ha'ara, and then the latter part, which we call gemar bia, the complete bia. We'll see a machlokus in the Gemara exactly what constitutes ha'ara, but b'shas ha'ara, at the beginning of the bia, that woman would be kaina. So she would be nikna, she would become his wife. And if it's isser, that you're with a woman that you're not supposed to be with, you will be chayev. Kares, pieces bezdin, depending upon the individual woman. You do not need the complete bia to go ahead and be chayev. It will be enough to be mechayev even b'shas hara. The hara is the beginning of the act, literally penetration. V'lei chilik bein bia lebia. There's no chilik between whether the bia is kedarka or shaloi kedarka. Even shaloi kedarka, you will be go ahead and you'll be kaina. Says the Gemara v'chein. In addition to this we just were describing Yevamis. V'chein haba al achas mikol ha'roya shebetayra. The criteria that we just said above would go ahead and be included any issa erva in the Torah, whether it's b'shogeg, b'mezid, so on and so forth. Oy psulois, or not an erva, wouldn't be not a chiyav miso, a chiyav misas bezdin, but one that would passel a kahuna. For example, going amadal kain gadol, gerusha v'chalutz kain head, chayve lavin. Umamzeres nesin liyisrael, bas Yisrael lemamzer. All these would fall in a sin. Again, these are the givonim that David was geyser on. We saw the other day that we'll see at Daf Yomi Ches Bez Hashem. Pasla, there would be pasel. This woman would constitute a zayna. We spoke about that many times. Not a prostitute is a kadesha. A zayna is someone now becomes through an act of bia. She is turned aside from the ability to marry a kohen. And again, there will not be distinction between bia lebia, whether it's a bia kedarka or bia shlei kedarka, you will be chayav. So what's the lashon of the Mishnah? The Mishnah said, well, he does one thing And now it says afilu he shoygeg v'hu mesid. What's the afilu? It says the Gemara. My afilu says the Gemara. So let me buy. Come on, you don't need to tell me. Let me buy who shoygeg v'hi kamechavna lemitzvah, where at least one person is mechav for the mitzvah. Inami who mesid he kamechavna lemitzvah. In other words, as long as one is mechav for the mitzvah, I'd say even if he's out of the ballpark because he's a shogeg, it thinks it's his wife, or mesid he's mechav for his nus. But the Yevamot is mechayiv to go ahead and be making the name of her dead husband. I would think over there it works. I would say over there it works. Why? Because at least someone's doing something right. Afilu, guys, is what? El afilu hu shoyge v'himezida. That no one is mechavin. The travail loy k'mechavin l'shem mitzvah. Neither one has the right kavana. Afilu achikana. Even so, you be kind. Now, the medayik. My son Yehonasan mentioned today. It says kind. It doesn't say you did the mitzvah. In other words, we're describing, this is not certainly the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu drew it up, that Yevamot Yavai Alecha, Yimekayim mitzvah Yibum. It's really just telling us that the act is done and she is now acquired, but not necessarily the mitzvah was performed. You know, we can break up the action into two parts. We can break up something was done, what's the din? Or mamish, this is the same mitzvah mufcheret. Certainly, this is not a mitzvah min hamufcher. Ken zayin, it's not the mitzvah at all. You weren't bekayim the mitzvah, but nonetheless, the woman would be acquired because that's the halachas of physical acquirement. Bein b'shoigig, bein b'mezid, bein b'onis, bein b'rotzin, bein kedarka, bein shaloi kedarka, bein arah, bein gemarbiyah. That it's all those criteria would fit into the physical act of acquiring or the physical act of yimachayev miso krisus bezdin, depending upon the individual woman. Guys, we good? Tana Rav Chia. Now, afilu shneim shoygin, shneim mezidim, shneim anusim. Now, even if they're both shoygin, they're both mezidim, and they're both anusim. Now, the Gemara is going to grapple. How do you find the case of onus? Now, again, mezid is not a problem, guys. Mezid is I'm a chavim for this, and I have the same nus. Shoygig is not a problem. I'm doing the action. I just think it's a different woman. The problem is onus. How do you go ahead and have a case of onus being forced without fitting into either category? So that what the Gemara is grapple with to try to figure out. Says the Gemara, what exactly is the case of onus of our Mishnah? The goyim force him to go ubah leha. Ein onus le'erva l'fishein kishay el l'das. There is no onus le'erva. In other words, they're going to tell this guy, we'll kill you unless you go ahead and have beer with this woman. He still has to go ahead and make the aver hard. So again, that would not be considered an onus. He still has to make the aver hard. That would not be considered an onus. Ella, what must it be? It must be biyashan. He's sleeping and he does the act he does the act while he's sleeping. So therefore, guys, how would this fit into onus? It's not shoygeg, it's not mezid. He's not mechavim for the act at all. Again, honest, we're describing not necessarily as forced, but not mechavim for the act at all. Let's stell it to Shabbos. You fall against the light switch and you turn it off, right? There's no kavana there whatsoever. So we want to look for a case where there's no kavana. So if he's sleeping and he does this act in his sleep, that will be a case of what? Of honest. 1 second. Rabbi Yehuda Amid Aleph. It says Rabbi Yehuda that exactly is not going to work because Yashan loikana be Yevimtai. Yashan is not acquired by Yevamot. A case of Yashan is not acquired by Yevamot. Good. So therefore, we're still grappling. What exactly is the case of onus? What exactly is the case of onus? Ella, it's speaking. It could be speaking where what? Beniska, but beniska. Now look at Rashi, guys. This case is a little. How should we say? Difficult to picture. Beniska, sheniska shel ishtoi. In other words, he was with his wife on the roof, and he had kavanah to be with his wife, and he was niskashe. He was hard, to live with his wife. V'nafal min agag, he fell off the roof. V'niska b'yevimtai, and he happened to meet up with his yevama. Now, the first time I remember learning this, and it was problematic in my mind. But if you think about it, again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to fathom a case that he would be an honest. So as far-fetched as the case would be, this would be a case that he's an honest. Why? Because he was mechavin for the act for his wife, but not for this woman at all. And And the kishoy ledas was okay because him becoming hard was for his wife, not for the Yevama. And then just to make it more practical, since you could be mechayev b'shas hara, you don't need gemar bia. If he falls on his Yevama, and according to one opinion, if his aver touches har oisei makayim, you would be chayev, then it's not such a far-fetched case. To think lahavdil that you need penetration, for sure, it's very hard to feel. But since we just said in the Mishnah, all you need is hara, all you need is the beginning of the act, if it be he'd fall off, and he's niskashe, he's hard, and he would fall in a way where he would touch the isha, his vimta in such a way, so then it's not such a bizarre case, all be far-fetched, but not such impossibility. The bottom line is, it would fit the bill of what we're trying to accomplish, which is a case of onus. How do you have a case of onus? Okay? Elabeniska, Fred Gemar Vama Rabba, Nafal min agav v'niska. If you fall off a roof and you happen to be niska and push yourself up against a woman, chayev arba devarim. Now, outside, guys, there are 5 things a person who goes ahead and damages another person is mechayev. Nezek, tsar, ripui, sheves, ubaishes. Nezek is the damages. Tsar is pain. Ripui is doctor bill. Sheves is disability. And baishes vad is embarrassment. Let's leave the explanation for all those things, right? For Baba Kama. Right now, for this Masechta, Yechayev Nezek, tsar, ripui, and sheves, not baishes. As we're going to see, baishes you have the imam chavim for. The other one's not. So the first thing is you be chayv arba devarim, ubi yevimta leikana, and what we need, what's necessary for us, by Yevama, you would not be kainaha. You would not be kaina if she's a Yevama. You wouldn't acquire her. Good. So therefore, that can't be the case of honest, because if that case is him falling off the roof when he's neskasha ishta, he would not be. So far we haven't been successful in finding a case of honest. Ela kigoyin sheneskaven le ishtai. He's mechaven for his wife. The takvasa yevimta, and his Yevama pulls him away and forces him on her. That would be the case of honest. Uba aleha shneim anusim, and then Rabbi V'chia hechidami. What the case would be two? They're both in honest. Kigoyin sheneskavel ishtoi v'takfu evdei kechavim v'tavku zebezeh. He's mechavim for his wife. Again, what you gain by mechavim for your wife is the kishoy is midas for someone that's permitted, and then the goyim force him on the Yevama. So in that case, they would both be anusim, and that would be the case of shnei anusim. Okay, now getting into the whole sugya of bia. Where do you know all these things? You just gave a whole bunch of cases. Where do you know them from? So Tan Rabbana, the pasuk says, "Ki yeshve achim yachtav umeis echem mehem." One of them dies. 2 brothers together. Uben ein loy. He has no son. She should not go out to another man. Yevama yava yaleha ulkacha loy leisha v'yibma. Yevama yava yaleha. His Yevama should be with her. V'lacha loy leisha. Take her as a wife. V'yibma and perform yibam. Now we're going to dash in this pasuk. Let's go through it. Yevama yava yaleha mitzvah. Right? It's a mitzvah. Davar acher, another pshat. Yevama yava yaleha. Bein b'shoigeg, bein b'mezid, bein b'oinus, bein b'ratzin. That's what we need it for, right? Any which way that the Yevama is with her. Minani mili, how do you know what our Mishnah said that any which way the Yevama is with the Yevama that is kaina? Because it's mashma Yevama yava yaleha. Any which way. Fred the Gemara, 1 second. You just used the pasuk to tell me it's a mitzvah. How can you use it for something else? We can only use something once. We can't use it twice. Fred the Gemara about fikdei lemitzvah. You already went ahead and used it to tell me there's a mitzvah for yibum. So how can you use it to tell me that bein b'oinus, bein b'ratzin, and bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid? And for the Gemara, lemitzvah mevi'im lo yachbotza ish. The pasuk said again. The pasuk says v'im lo yachbotza ish, and he doesn't want to take it, then he's going to do chalitza. Mashma v'im lo yachbotza ish nafka hachafetz. But if he wants to yavam, he goes ahead and does yibum. So in other words, v'im lo yachbotza, if he doesn't want to do the mitzvah, mashma if he does, it wants to do a mitzvah. So now, if the source for mitzvah is lo yachbotz, I have an extra Yevama yavo eleha to teach me bein b'oinus, bein b'retzin, bein b'mesh, bein b'shag. Chiyasa kra bein b'shag, bein b'meis, bein b'oinus, bein b'retzin. That's one brisa. Tanya yidach another brisa. Again, this is pretty easy. Yevama yavo eleha kidarka. That teaches me only if the bia is in the normal way. V'lacha, and you take her even shalai kidarka, even the not normal way. V'yibim bia gomerisba vein kesef v'shtar gomerimba. The only way to go ahead and acquire Yevama is through Bia and not through Kesef V'Shtar. V'Yibma, Why do we use v'yivma for? Bal karcha, even against her will, you could be kind of the Yevama. Davar acher, another way. Yevama yavay aleha, ben b'shayig, ben b'mezid. We used it already for teaching me normal relations. And for the Gemara, who milahakim la'achiv shem nafka. Where do you know normal relations from? It says he's going to go ahead and be hakim. Shem is going to go ahead. The pasuk says, "Also even peshar vama mein yavami la'achiv shem Yisrael loy avi yavma." And she says that what? That he doesn't want to go ahead and live with her. It says that you want your brother to go ahead lahakim la'achiv shem. That's mashma that the bia has to be in a place to replace your brother. Obviously, that's only can be kedarka in the normal way. So therefore, I know the normal way from there. Again, the Gemara is asking, how could use Yevama Yavala to teach me bein b'shogeg, bein b'mesid, bein b'oinis, bein b'ratzin, if I need that to teach me bia kedarka? And for the Gemara, we're learning bia kedarka from the pasuk of mil hakim la'achiv shem, which is what? Nafka b'makim shem, make him shame in a place where it's possible to go ahead and establish his name, which is obviously bia kedarka. And therefore, since you use that for bia kedarka, I have the Yevama Yavalel extra. The chiyasa kra bein b'shogeg, bein b'mesid, bein b'oinis, bein b'ratzin. I've had all extra for that. Gufa, okay. Now, so therefore we're good. Gufa, going back over the previous Gemara. Amar Reb Yehuda, Yashin like kaina be Yevimtoi. Right? Yashin, if he's sleeping, he's not kaina be Yevama. If he's sleeping, he's not kaina. Right? Dama kra, the pasuk says, Yevama yavay alecha, ad mechavin lo l'shem bia. In other words, he's mechavin l'shem bia. He has to mechavin l'shem bia, and if he's sleeping, he's not mechavin for anything. Fred the Gemara 1 second, but Tanya, we learned in a brisa, bein whether he's up, bein yashin, whether he's sleeping, right? So l'chayra, you see, you are kaina. So how can you tell me not? And for the Gemara, ema bein ara bein yashena, whether she's up or she's sleeping. Again, we said she's acquired against the will. He has to be up. She could be sleeping, but again, because it makes sense. It's balkarch. I've Tanya bein hu bein yashin hu bein ora eruhu bein yashena hu. So you have a brisa saying that what he also. We said we're including over here both male and female. So you see, he has to be up. So you see, he doesn't have to be up. Whether even if he's sleeping, he acquires her. So it's not speaking, he's sleeping, he's speaking, he's slumbering. We had this quite a few times. That means you're nishtahi and nishtahir, and the Gemara gives us how to identify this state. Hechidami misnamne, what's considered misnamne is Amar of Ashi, niyim v'loy nim, he's sleeping but not sleeping, tir v'loy tir, he's awake but he's not awake. Kigoin, the korile, you call him, v'ani, and he'll answer. However, v'loyoda ladure svara, if you ask him anything in logic, he would not be able to answer. However, if you remind him, then he would remember. That is the state. So therefore, we're saying, really, if he's totally sleeping, that what you're not kaina. When the brisa says he's sleeping, it means misnamnim. It means that level. If he's misnamnim, that's enough of a state of kavana to say Yevama Yavayaleh will be fulfilled. Gufa, going back again over the previous brisa that we mentioned. Amar Rabba, nafal min agag v'niska chayiv arba devarim. If you fall off the roof and you're niskin a woman, you be chayiv nezek tsari pusheves u'boishes. Uvi yevintoi loy kaina. Now, benezek b'tsar b'sheves b'ripuy aval b'boishes lo. You would not be mechayiv in boshes, right? Sheves, the doctor bills you'd have to pay, the disability you have to pay, ripuy, the doctor bills you have to pay, the tsar cost you'd have to pay, and the nezek, the damage cost you'd have to pay. But boishes lo mechayiv, why not? Damamar. Since he fell off the roof and he was not mischaven to land on this woman, therefore what? He would not be chayiv to pay boshes. Omar Rava, says Rava, a few halachas. Niskaven latiach b'koisel, you're mechaven to push up against the wall, v'yatiach b'yivintoi, and you end up being pushed up against the Yevama. See, this is what I was talking about when I said about hara, that kenzayin, you're being pushed together. If your genitalia touch, you'll be chayiv, right? But here, like kana. Why? Because you weren't mechaven for the act of bia, guys. You were mechaven for pushing up against the wall. If you ended up doing a bia that would be kind of Yevama, it doesn't make a difference. You don't have kavana for that. And we said that you have to have kavana. That's why Yashan didn't work. Interesting enough, if you have kavanah to do an act of snus to an animal, v'tich b'yevama, then koina. You know why? So fascinating. Even though you mechavan for a bia snus, you mechavan for that bia. So therefore, if you end up yevama, will be okay. Mashenki, by going ahead against the wall, that's not considered a bia. Memel, if you end up yevama, it would not be okay. He said, echad ma'ara, echad gemar bia. Ama'ula, minayin l'hara min ha'tayra. How do you know hara is min ha'tayra? Shnemar, the pasuk says, v'isha sheyishka ves isha dava. This is speaking about a nida girls, guys. The gila, well, nida is a girl. The gila is a varsa, and you megala erva. You reveal a part as mekaira hasos hara. You go ahead and you pierce. The gilsa es mekar dameha. V'nichsu shneiim mikerav amam. They both get what? They both get karas. Now the pasuk says, the gila es erva sa es mekaira hara. It's the es mekaira. What did you do? Hara. Mikan la ra min atayra. So now we found we have a source, and this pasuk was speaking about nida. So guys, we're going to have a whole lima now. How do you know hara by all aroyas? Again, what's our mission? The pasuk said, the Mishnah said, not only by Yevama, but who adin by all erva, you be chayiv b'shas hara. Now, how do you know you don't need gemar bia? So it says mafurish by nida. It says the lashon of hara. So hara is mashma again the beginning of the act. Good. So now we're going to end up learning from. The bottom line, guys, is it was today's parsha. You might remember. Let me give you a little. Go back. I'm talking back really back. The big sugi we started off in Masechta was, how do you know tsaras erva is pata? How do you know the co-wife of one of the erva is pata? And we said it's the pasuk of Litzrar that it says regarding achos ishta, your wife's sister. And we went through the whole thing. We had kashas and everything, essay, the whole kit and caboodle. And we ended up saying, we learned it out from the hekesh of Rabbi Yoina. The end of the parsha says, this week's parsha, guys, mamish the last pasuk, the last few psukim. And therefore, meaning anyone who does any of the aroyas, we said it's one cholent pot. It's one big cholent pot, all the parsha of aroyas. So once nida is in the cholent pot, and it says hara, the mela guys, what? Any of the aroyas would be chayiv mishas hara. That's the end of the Gemara. I'm letting you read the last pages of the book without going through the book, right? I'm giving you the end of the book without reading through the book. The parsha is all one big pot, and it says nida b'hara. Since you put it all together, so the nida is chayiv hara, hekesh ben yoina, they're all chayiv hara. But until we get to that point, it's a difficult Gemara. Okay, so let's go. Okay. Says the Gemara, right? So how do you know hara? So, because the pasuk says by nida, says the Gemara, ashken nida. Very good, you found the nida. Shara royas minayin. How do you know all the aroyas? All the other aroyas, how do you know that you would be chayiv for hara? And if you'll say, learn that from nida, I'll ask you a question. Ma nida shekei mitama as boila. Nida has a severe tumah. If a man is boiling nida, he's an avatuma for 7 days. He's mechuyev, 7 days, right? So maybe that's why we're so machmir by nida b'shas hara and not requiring a gemar bia. But any other erva, which would not be mitama the boil, maybe there you would need gemar bia, not hara. It's a good kasha. Elam, you have to say what? Asya me eshes ach. We're going to learn out from your brother's wife. What does it say by your brother's wife? As the chsiv, the pasuk says, "V'isha sheyikach es eshes achiv." A person who takes eshes achiv, neither he, neither ervas achiv gila aririm yiyu. That's what the pasuk says. Now, when it says neither he, eshes achiv la'olam neither he, is your wife's brother la'olam a nida? At some point in time, she'll stop being a nida. Why do you have to say she's a nida? Ela kinida. We want to say like a nida. Ma nida behara, af eshes ach behara. Good. So now, guys, we have a source. I can't learn it from nida, but I could learn from eshes ach. Eshes ach, guys, is not metama the boil. In other words, it doesn't have the severity of nida. Nonetheless, you will be chayiv b'shas hara because of the limit for nida. And memela, I can therefore use eshes ach as my source for all other aroyas being mechayiv what b'shas hara. Good. Mala eshes ach. I got a question. Shekain biyodei l'rabbis. You know, it's a very interesting thing. It's an erva that keeps on giving. every time your brother gets married, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he just increases more and more. In other words, there's a chumrah that exists by Yeshes Ach. It's not like an erva that you have a sister, or you have a brother, you have a mother. You're not increasing that, right? Well, actually, you could have more brothers, but it's not up to you. But Yeshes Ach increases more, exponentially. The boy mekadesh yosa ki alpha. If he wants, he can go ahead and mekadesh up to 1,000 women. So therefore, maybe that's why Hara is chayiv. So therefore, you can't learn out from Eishes Ach. So guys, the two sources we have, Nida and Eishes Ach. We can use neither. Nida because of the severity of what of being metama the boil, and Eishes Ach because of the severity that what it can keep on giving, right? Constantly increase by your brother marrying more and more and more and more and more. Learn out from your father's sister or your mother's sister. In other words, your aunt, your maternal aunt or paternal aunt. The chsiv, what does it say over there? It says the ervas achos imcha, the erva of the sister of your mother, your aunt, the achos avicha, or the sister of your father, your aunt, your paternal aunt. Loy segala kies she'eroi hera avon miso. So we find the lashon of hera. Again, this is in next week's parsha. Finds a lashon of hera being used, and therefore we'll learn out from your aunt, achos avicha, achos imecha, to go ahead and say hara, just like an aunt is b'shas hara, so too all hara is b'shas hara. Good. Kiashera hara. Now ikal nifrich mala achos av achos aim shekain iser haba me'elav. Why is your father's sister your father's sister usher to you? It's not something that was created. It came automatically. It just happened. You were born and your father had a sister. You were born, your father had a sister, your mother had a sister. It came automatically. Let's say Eishes Ish, guys. Eishes Ish does not come automatically. Eishes Ish requires a man to be Mekadesh. So maybe therefore, that would not be. Look at Rashi. Excuse me, I told you wrong shot. I jumped the gun. In other words, your mother, your sister, your daughter, these happen automatically. Similar to an automatic yisur. But however, let's say your brother goes ahead and is mekadesh a woman. Okay, that's Eishes Ach. Okay, let's say your father's brother is mekadesh a woman, right? That's an aunt. Your father's brother's wife is your aunt, but it's not automatic. It required an action. So if my source is going to be the sister of your father or the sister of your brother for hara, that would limit it to an erva that is exactly like that, an automatic erva. For example, your mother, your sister, your daughter, an automatic erva, I would say you mechayev b'shas hara, an automatic erva. But what about an erva that requires an action that's created through a kedushin? I wouldn't know that. I would not know that. Good. So the Gemara wants to know one more time. Again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to figure out hara. We failed from Nida because Nida was Matama the Boil. We failed from Eishes Ach, where we said Nida, because he can go ahead and increase him more and more. We're trying now from Achas Avicha, Achas Imecha, and we're stating that would be limited to what? Even though it says Hara there, that would be limited to an automatic erva. What about an erva that's not Bamei Elav? That's not automatic. That comes as an act of Kedushin. How would I know that? That's what the Gemara wants to know. Ikul Nefrich, Mala Achas Av Achas Aim, Shekain Issa Bamei Elav. Okay, so we're up to, for persons who just joined, about 6 lines from the bottom on Dal and Aleph. Ikul Nefrich, okay, says the Gemara, Chada Mechada Le'asya, I can't learn from Nida 101. I can't learn from Eishes Ach 101. I can't learn from Achas Avicha, Achas Imecha 101. But Teisi, so Teisi Chada Mitarti. Let's learn from 1 from 2. May Teisi, which ones will you learn? Teisi me Eishes Ach of Achas Av. v'achos aim. So in other words, by achos ach, eishes ach, it says nida. By achos of achos aim, it says hara. What are you going to ask? Eishes ach is you can increase. Achos imcha, you can't increase. What you're going to ask? Achos imcha is automatic. Eishes av techiach. Eishes ach is not automatic. You had to be mekadeshar. Guys, again, when you do this, fellas, in learning, often the Gemara says, I can't learn the Memetzino. Guys, look at me. A Memetzino is the most basic way to learn something. Just like you find by Nida, there's hara, so too what you find all over it. And then there's a kasha, and it destroys it. So we tried the Memetzino by Nida. We tried it by your brother's wife, Eishes Ach. We tried by your aunt, Achas Avicha, Achas Imecha. We had kashas in all of them. So now let's use two. Which two are we going to use? Let's use Eishes Ach and let's use Achos Imcha or Achos Avicha. What are you going to ask by Eishes Ach? That you can go ahead and increase that? Or you can't increase your Achos Avicha, Achos Imecha. What are you going to ask by Achos Avicha, Achos Imecha? That it came automatically because it was your father's sister or your maternal sister? Guess what? Eishes Ach wasn't automatically. He had to be Makadosh the woman. So the two kashas don't exist. And nonetheless, we can learn hara by there. So Memela, I would know hara by all arayos because the kashas you asked would not apply because I learned that from Memetzina between two things. That's what the Gemara is doing right now. Says the Gemara, no, Malahanach, right? Malahanach, Eishes Ach and Achas Avicha, Shekin Asurim Mishum She'er. They're also because of kurva, right? These are relatives. But what about Eishes Ish? And Eishes Ish is not a relative. So how would you know hara by Eishes Ish? Your aunt's your aunt. Your sister-in-law is your sister-in-law. Another man's wife is not. Again, guys, we want to learn that all aroyas, every single one is mechayev hara. So granted, you have a good limud from Eishes Ach, from your brother's wife, and from your aunt. But because those kashas we removed. Consequently, however, they're both relatives to you. One's an aunt and one's a sister-in-law. An Eishes Ish, which is not a sister-in-law, not an aunt, maybe there you need Gemar Bia. That's what the Gemara wants to know. Ella, what do you have to say? Teisi me nida v'achis av v'achis aim. So let's go through it again. Nida and aunt. What are you going to say by nida? She's metama. What are you going to say by achas of v'achis aim? What are you going to say by achas of v'achis aim? What's the chumrah over there by achas of v'achis aim? That was automatic. Nida is not automatic. Malahana shkin isa abba me'elav. If it is automatic, right? The nida comes and automatically she's asa. Ela tesim me nida ve'eshes ach. Let's learn nida and eshes ach and sister-in-law. The ma'parachta. What are you going to ask? Okay, what are you going to ask? Nida is matama. Eshes ach is not matama. I'm eshes ach. You can be marba. What are you going to say? Nida can't be marba. But between the two, you learn that just like over there is hara, so too what all arayas hara. Okay, so right now we're good. Between a memetzinu, between nida and eshes ach, we will be okay. Says the Gemara, Maskavla Ravacha Brei de Ravika. Mala nida ve'eshes ach, shekain ein lehem heter b'chaye oisman. The whole time that a person is alive, the is is there. So, for example, as long as she is bleeding, right? As long as he's married to his sister, there's no heta. Masha ein kain an eshes ish. Once she's divorced, there's a heta. So, in other words, the nida is asa the whole time she's a nida. The eshes ach is asa the whole time she's ach. You're never going to have a heter within the nida. There'll never be a heter, and eshes ach will never be a heter. The only heter will be by eshes ish. There was a heter when you die. While it's still alive. So right? Who the ein lehem heta? Aval achmi kan yesh lehem heta? In other words, you're telling me, you just said the lashon that a nida of eshes ach b'chayai, meaning while the nida is still there, it's aser. Mashen came when she's not a nida anymore, it's mutter. Guys, is that true? Guys, watch. The nida is a nida the whole time she's bleeding. When she's not bleeding, she's mutter. It's not true. She's coming for 7 days afterwards. Eshes ach. It's only if there's no children. If there's children, okay, so that's the Gemara's problem. Says the Gemara, Avalachim Yikan Yeshlem Het, says the Gemara Amid Beis, Nida b'yom Italian milsa. Nida, it's not has to do with her bleeding. After she bleeds, she's still tummy for 7 days. And Eishes Ach, the Heta, is B'Banim Talim Milsa. If you have Banim, even if the husband dies, right, even if he's not in this world anymore, it's still Asa. So therefore, that's not a good kasha. So l'chayra right now, we have a good limud for hara from Nida and Eishes Ach, and the question you ask is not a good question. Ella parachachi. Here's the question: Mala Nida ve'Eishes Ach shekein ein oisron matiron. The one that asks doesn't matter. What matters the Nida? Days. What matters the sister-in-law? The death. Tana be'Eishes Ish oisron matira. What asks an Eishes Ish, guys? The husband. What matters in Eishes is the husband by giving gerushin, right? Guys, again, there's a difference, a finite difference between Eishes Ish and Nida and Eishes Ach. Both Nida and Eishes Ach, the heter is nothing to do with them. Masha'en came by the gerushin, it's everything to do with them. The woman, the reason a woman's asa is she's married to this certain man. The man that asks is the one who gives her gerushin that matters. So therefore, fellas, we don't have a source yet for hara. We failed every single which way. We try to learn from Nida, we failed. We try to learn from Eishes Ach, we failed. We try to learn from Ant, we failed. We try to learn from a combination of Eishes Ach and Nida, we failed. So now we're stuck. Where is the source that hara? And you know the answer. You know the answer? It's in the Rabbi Yona's Hekesh. Says the Gemara, El Am Rabbi Yona, V'item Rav Huna, Breid of Yeshua, Amakra, the pasuk says, Ki kol ish yasem, he called Tevis Eila, this week's parsha. Anyone who does from all these ta'avis that were mentioned in the parsha of Arayos, v'nichrosu and afashas oisis, and the fashas that do it would be asa. Hukish kol Arayos kulun l'nida. And therefore, since Nida is in this parsha, and we're making a hekesh to Nida, Manida bahara, Avkol bahara. So just like early in the Masechta, we made a hekesh, everyone to Achas Isha, to your wife's sister, and Litzra that asked all the tsaris, we're making a hekesh over here to Nida that all Arayos are Ashmas Lashava. Good, good. Now, guys, this is what the Gemara is going to do now. We're going to backtrack. Guys, we're going to have to go figure out why does it say Nida by Eishes Ach, and why does it say Hara by Achas Imecha and Achas Avicha? In other words, there's no purpose behind it now. Initially, when I thought the purpose is to learn out the din of Hara, it served the purpose. Now you're telling me I know the din of Hara through a hekesh. So let's backtrack. Therefore, why does it say those obscure terms Nida by Eishes Ach and Hara by Achas Avicha and Achas Imecha if it's not necessary? So Gemara's kasha now. We're working backwards. I always love the Gemara's quest for perfection. You had a mission, you had a question, you answered the question. What's the Gemara doing now in its quest for truth? Along the way, trying to figure this out, we unearth two things, and now we can't figure it out. So now I got my answer, but still, so therefore, let's go back and figure what went wrong. Why is it necessary? I think it's, again, just looking at the Gemara in a certain way instead of just being hard. The beauty of Gemara, it's the ultimate truth. When the Gemara says Shema Mina, that means it's exhausted any possibility of any question or anything. It's unequivocally the absolute truth. It's checkmate. Shema Mina is checkmate in a positive way. Tiyufta is checkmate in a negative way. It's with. There's no if, ands, or buts. So again, in learning Gemara, these are all the things I wish your Rebbe had told you along the way. Go ahead and give it a little context of what the Gemara is doing rather than just reading line after line. Okay, so now, says the Gemara. So therefore, here's the case. If you have a hekesh to all the things, then the elanida diksiva gabe eishes ach lomali. What do you need it for? You don't need it to teach me ara. I know that from the hekesh Rabbi Yona. Says the Gemara lich Reb Huna. We know from Reb Huna. Dam Rav Huna remez li yevama min atayra minayin. What's the allusion for yevama in the Torah? Says minayin. What are you talking about? There's no remez. It's an off and a pasuk. It's an open pasuk. Yevama Yaveh. What are you talking about? Yevama Yaveh. That's what you do, right? Ella remez li yevama she'asura b'chaye baila minayin. How do you know if he does chalitza? How do you know, or divorces her? How do you know that it's not permitted? How do you know if he divorces? Let's say, guys, if your brother divorces his wife, how do you know it's not permitted? No, we know it's not. We know it's not. This is the source. Like I told you, Yevamot is the source for many, many arayas. So how do you know that gerushin? How do you know it's asa? Says the Minayin, Svarahi. It's a svara. Midam rachmana la'achamisis baila sharia. When the Torah says only after the husband's death, your brother's death, is the Yevamot permitted? Mechlal de b'chaye baila, as long as your brother's alive. Asura. Good. Mashma, even if what? Even if they're divorced. Says, how do you know that? V'dilma la'achamisis baila mitzvah b'chaye baila rishus. Maybe that what? Maybe it's what? B'chaye baila. Excuse me. If the husband dies, there's a mitzvah to go ahead and marry the Yevamot. And when the husband is alive, when your brother's alive and divorced, maybe it's a rishus not to, but not that it's usher. In other words, you wouldn't know it's usher without a pasuk. The svara would tell you, here's your svara. That's your svara. When he's alive, when he's dead, there's a mitzvah. It must be when alive, it's usher. No, I could say the following. When he's dead, it's a mitzvah. When it's alive, it's a rishus to stay away from her. But not there's a chi of karis. Maybe there's no chi of karis. Inami, or else, la'achamis is baila in b'chaye baila lo. Maybe only, right? You infer the following. La'achamis is baila in. After your husband death, you can do yibum. And infer b'chaye baila, you can't. Now, this is an asay. Falava ba machal asay is an asay. So there won't be a chi of karis. There won't be a chi of karis. The Gemara wants to know. So basically, that's the Gemara's kasha. How do you know there's an issa karis on your brother's wife if they divorced? Makar, the pasuk says, "V'ish asher yikach es eishes achiv," and a man who takes his brother's wife, nida he, she's a nida. V'chi eishes achiv nida. If you telling me she's always a nida, ela kinida, she's like a nida. Ma nida afa pish yesh laheter la'acha mikan, right? Even though it's a heter after she stops bleeding. But b'shas isura b'karis, in the time of isis b'karis, af eishes ach, so to your brother's wife, nami, af apishesh leheta la'acham mikan, right? There's a heter if your brother dies, b'chayi baila b'karis. Good. So therefore, that's what it teaches me. In other words, you wanted to know what the nida of eishes ach teaches me, guys. It teaches me that your brother's wife is like a nida. As long as she's a nida, it's an isakaris. Your brother's wife, as long as he's is the issa, as long as it's alive, it's an isakaris. Ela hara the ksiva gabi achas ab achas aim lamali. Okay, now we had a hara by your aunt. You had a hara by your aunt. Now we don't need the hara by your aunt because we know from the hekesh or Rabbi Yoina, right? The Rabbi Yoina put it all together compared to nida, just like a nida that says hara, so to a yes, including your aunt. So why would you need the pasuk of what? Why do you need this pasukim of achasav achasim? Says Ravina. You need it for what? For what Ravina es Rava. Okay, what now? What did Ravina say to Rava? Hama'orab bizachar, hara by another male, mahu. It says what's a kasha? Bizachar mishkvei isha kasiba. It says mishkvei isha. So just like mishkvei isha hara would be chayiv, so to by a zachar. Hara would be chayiv. Ella hama'or bebehema mahu. Now, guys, I got a kasha to you, guys. I think it's a gewaldige kasha. Where do we know harayas from? Where do we know that the hara by all harayas from the hekesh Rabbeinu Yoina, right? In Perikut Ches, it says mishkav. It says mishkav zacha. What's the Gemara's havamina, fellas? That mishkav zacha would be different. Isn't it in the parsha of what of Rayos, and if it's the Pasha of Rayos, we compare it to Nida. So l'chayra, it should be what? It should be from there. So let's see Taisvis. A nice, interesting Taisvis. Second Taisvis down. Bizacha mahu. By zacha, what would it be regarding hara? Frag Taisvis. Hadla yolav zachar ubehema me'akesha derbenu yoina. Why do you need the pasuk? Now you told me by zacha we learned it at mishkvei isha, and we're going to have a limud for bestiality. Right, for behema. Why can't we just say they're in the parsha of Benji's parsha zacha? We're in parsha's Perikut Ches, guys, Perikut Ches, and we have the hekesh. It's gewaldige kasha, right? And for Taisvis, I'll tell you why. Mishum the esmekoira haroksiv. It says by the neither guys her makar, her source, I mean the vaginal canal mahara. So therefore, I would say by a man and by a behema where you don't have this, memela it doesn't apply. It's a geshmak teretz, right? V'hanu leishaychik bahu mikar. By them, both of them, it's not shaykh mikar. That's one teretz. Enough is another teretz. Dafsekinu bikra the moilach between the Zachar and the other whole parsha between Zachar and animal, you have the parsha of Moilach. So since I would say that since that divides the parsha, maybe the Kikol Yasu Mikol Tevis Eila is only going on the things that preceded the Moilach, right? Which was the normal relations versus not normal relations like men and animals. So I'd say it doesn't go on that. Kamash, therefore I needed a separate pasuk. Okay, two terutzim and taisvus for a nice kasha. Back to the Gemara. Again, so what's a kasha now? Why does it need hara by ant? Why do we need hara by achas imoy by achas aviv? Says the Gemara, I would say for zacha. Says the Gemara, zacha, you don't need it. That's mishkvei isha. So by behema, so amalei im eno inyan lehara the ksiva gabe achas av achas aim the isi be'akeshim with Rabbi Yoina tneyu inyan lehara the behema. Okay, guys, outside. We have a rule. Im eno inyan lekan tenu lemakam acher. It's a very interesting limit in the Torah. If the Torah says something that's unnecessary and I don't need it within context, you could use it within another context, but not necessarily within that context. So therefore, I do not need the hara by ant. Why? Because I have the hekesh from Ben Yoina to Nida. So now, im eno inyan lekan for an ant that I don't need, tenu lemakam acher. What's the makam acher? Another act of arroyos. What's that act of arroyos? With a behema. So now that's why I know behema. And that would answer the question, what you do with the hara that it says by achas avicha and achas imecha. That's what you do. So just like the nida by eshes ach, just like the nida by eshes ach was necessary, we used it to teach me. I forgot already what we used it to teach me for. We use it to teach me like that eshes ach is also even after the gerushin. That eshes ach is also even after gerushin. So who are then the hara by and is used to teach me what? It's used to teach me by behema. By behema. Guys, we're good? So it's a lot of information. A lot of information, but we should be okay. Okay? Weiter. Gets a little hard now. Michti. Behema chayve Mrs. Bezdin. If you're with an animal, it's not krisis, it's chayve Mrs. Bezdin. My time ksiv hara didei gabi chayve krisis. An ant is a chayv chorus. You're saying the hara of a chayv chorus is used to teach me the hara of a chayv Mrs. Bezdin. Lichtav gabi Mrs. Bezdin, learning regarding Mrs. Bezdin, v'neil of Mrs. Bezdin, mi Mrs. Bezdin, and learn out Mrs. Bezdin from Mrs. Bezdin. In other words, that would make sense. Okay, so the Gemara is going to say, fellas, that the pasuk of that it says in Vayikra Chaf pasuk Yutes, the ervas achas imcha the achas avicha loisegala ki esheira hera avoina yisau is totally extraneous. The whole pasuk is extra. That pasuk is extra. Why? Because we have a pasuk that says in today's parsha, ervas achas avicha loisegala shera avicha, and we have a pasuk that says ervas achas imecha loisegala. So since we have a pasuk that tells me ant from a paternal side and from a maternal side in Parshas Achrimos, the one in Parshas Kedoshim is totally extraneous. So since it's totally extraneous, I can use it for any drasha. So now I'm using it to teach me what hara by Misas Bezdin. That's what the Gemara is going to state. And for the Gemara, I need the kula kra lidrasha. Since the whole pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim is extraneous, ksiv beinami hamilsa lidrasha. Now it says this milsa also lidrasha that what hara by animal. My drasha the Tanya. It says ervas achos avicha leisagala. The erva of your father's sister you should not be megala. Bein mina av, bein mina aim. Whether it's your father's maternal sister or your father's paternal sister, it doesn't make a difference. Like Sagala. Ata oime bein mina avu bein mina aim. Or yena ela mina avaloi mina aim. Maybe only if it's a paternal sister, but not a maternal sister, meaning they have the same mother, but not the same father. V'dinhu, and the svara is to make that distinction. Chayiv kan v'chayiv b'achoisei. The Indian is not to make that distinction. They're not to make that distinction. It says chayiv by aunt. It says chayiv by sister. Ma'achoisei, just like your sister. Bein mina av ubein mina aim. There's those difference whether it's your paternal sister or maternal sister. Av kan, so too by aunt. Bein mina av, bein mina aim. Whether it's your father's paternal sister or maternal sister, you would be chayiv. That's one way to go. Again, we're looking for a drasha. We didn't get to the drasha. We're getting to the drasha now. Guys, I can go into another direction, which would tell me only paternal and not maternal. Again, if I take aunt and compare it to sister, there's no difference between paternal and maternal. I'm going to go in a derech now that only paternal and not maternal. What's that way? You're chayiv over here, and you're chayiv with an aunt. This is an aunt that's married. This is the wife of your father's brother. Your wife of your father's brother. Now watch. It's only your father's brother from the same father would you be chayiv. Guys, listen to this. Your aunt, if your father's paternal brother is married to a woman, you'd be chayiv. If your father's maternal brother is married to a woman, you would not be chayiv. So if we're going to go ahead and compare to that side would only be paternal and not maternal. Says the Gemara, what is aunt more comparable to? Your father's sister from your sister. Automatic, guys, right? It's automatic. Your father's sister from your sister. Good. Why is your father's brother's wife usher? Because he married her. It's not an automatic isser. He had to go to create the isser by marrying her. I'll show another way to go. Done in kroivia of kroivia aim. In other words, if I want to learn out ant achas imcha achas imecha, learn it out from daidasle, which is also your father's kroivim, rather than your curve itself. So again, if I go in that direction, maybe it only paternal and not maternal. Talmud Loima, therefore the pasuk says, and this is the drush we needed for ervais achas avicha loisagala bein mina of bein mina aim ervais achas imecha loisagala bein mina of bein mina aim. So the Gemara says, lovely lemifta b'achas av, lovely lemifta b'achas aim. Why do you have to write them by both? So again, so now we have a limit, guys. We have the drushes. That whole portion was extra, so the drushes is to tell me that whether it's a paternal or maternal aunt, it's going to be what? It's going to be us. Now, why do you have to write it twice? Says the Gemara. In other words, why do you have to write it, guys, in Parshas Kedoshim if I have it in Parshas Achremos? I said it says in Parshas Achremos, it says V'isha sheyishkav ervas achas avicha leisagala ervas achimech leisagala. Why do you have to write in Parshas Kedoshim? Why do you have to write why do you have to write that in Parshas Kedoshim? That's the kasha now. So why do you have to write it at all? You have to write it because he has a yichus, the father. Everything goes after the father. You know who saw it came from the mother, from the female. Where do we know this from? Okay, so Bez Hashem, I think we'll pick it up here tomorrow. It gets a little more involved. Thank you everyone for listening. I wish you all a good tevach.